So, by reviewing from last Sunday's gospel, right, the apostles asked Jesus to increase their faith, and in response, Jesus told them that if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you would say the small berry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would obey you. In the gospel we will be reflecting on today, you will see the power of faith to heal the sick. So let's review what happened in the gospel. Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, and as he was entering the village, he saw, what did he see? 10 lepers, yes. And they called out to him and pleaded if he could heal them. And what was Jesus' response to them? What did he say? So show yourself to the priest. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. But along the way, oh, what happened here? Okay. But along the way, one of them realized that he was healed. So what did he do? He returned. What else? He returned. Yeah. There. He fell at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And who was this person who came back? The Samaritan. And because of that, Jesus wondered what happened to the other nine and was surprised that out of the 10, it was the foreigner who turned back to say thank you. And so Jesus told the Samaritan, stand up and go, your faith has saved you. So to help you understand the gospel, let me give you some context and break it down some more. So during Jesus' time, leprosy was a broad term used to those who had any sort of skin ailment, like eczema, psoriasis, Hansen disease, etc. Those who had one were considered the lowest in society. They were rejected by people and they often became beggars on the side of the road. So if we look at the passage, as he was entering a village, 10 lepers met him. It shows that the 10 lepers were implied to be outside of the village, grouped together away from the people, demonstrating that they were ostracized from society. And the next line, they stood at a distance from him. This also shows that they have gotten used to keeping a distance from others because of their skin condition and social status. At that time, only priests, according to the Jewish law, can declare a person healed of leprosy, clean and fit to re-enter society. That is why when Jesus said, go show yourselves to the priest, they must go to receive clearance from the official who can grant it. And as they were going, they were cleansed. It's implied that Jesus healed them. Now, along the way, one of them realized he was healed, so he went back to thank Jesus. And who was this person again? Samaritan. So he's a foreigner, a non-Jew. Now, why is it important to emphasize this? It's because back then there was animosity between the Samaritans and the Jews. Oh, okay. They even wouldn't dare go near or even talk to one. Why is that? Well, there are a lot of reasons, but some of the key reasons are the following. For one, when the Syrian Empire invaded and conquered Israel, the Assyrians brought in people from different regions who then brought their own gods and customs. The intermarriage with these foreigners created a new group called the Samaritans, which the Jews viewed as racially and religiously impure half-breeds. They never gave up their pagan gods, rituals, and practices, and at the same time, they still worship the God of Israel. So they created a religion for themselves that Jews considered a heresy. Another reason is that they did not agree about where God's people should worship. Jews worship at the temple in Jerusalem, while the Samaritans made another place for worship. It was in their land on the top of Mount Gerizim. Later on, a Jewish high priest led the Jews to destroy that temple which solidified the hostility between the Jews and the Samaritans. So can you imagine if there are like other people who went to our church and defiled it? I mean, like, how angry would you be, right? Oh, so early this year, oh, and that is why no Jews would pass through Samaria if he were to travel north from Judea, Galilee. So you see there, Galilee's up there in the north, and then there's Jerusalem down there, and Samaria in the middle. So they would um go to the river Jordan on the right where Perea is. Like they would really avoid crossing Samaria just to avoid the Samaritans. They'd go the yeah, they take a long way. So it was a great surprise that the Samaritan among the 10 lepers was the only one who showed gratitude because it was least expected of him. For today, there are two themes in the gospel I would like to focus on. It's judgment versus compassion and gratitude versus taking things for granted. So for the first theme, an example of judgment in the gospel was how the lepers were harshly criticized for their physical appearance and illness. So much so that they were looked down upon and ostracized from society, like I mentioned earlier. And the thing is, we continue to do that up to the present. We judge people with mental illnesses, calling them crazy. We judge people based on what they wear, thinking they lack class or elegance. Or it could be also the other way around, thinking they're too social or snooty. We also judge people based on their body size, thinking they look fat and ugly, or too skinny and frail, so we call them baboy or rustic. And I too am guilty of this. Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm guilty. Okay, I'm ashamed to say, but anyway. Early this year, I met the best friend of a friend of mine, and I totally judged her. When I first saw her, she had a skin condition on her face, and she was on the heavy side, and I thought, wow, she's so unattractive. Um, to my surprise, though, my friend praised her for having lost so much weight. And while I was listening to the conversation, I was still judging her in my head, thinking, wow, she was fatter than this. I but it turned out she really has been putting in the work. She did spinning classes every time, spinning classes several times a week. And another difficult workout I can't remember. I was floored because she was exercising almost every day, and spinning is not easy. I struggle with spinning. I can't keep up with the cardio, and I wasn't nearly exercising as much as her. I'd exercise like 1 to 2 times a week. And I thought like, wow, she may be fat, but she's physically strong, and I totally judged her. And as I got to know her, she turned out to be a very affectionate and sweet, friendly person with a bright personality. I learned from this encounter that I really shouldn't judge the book by its cover and get to know the person instead because she's more than her skin condition and body size. Now, how about you guys? Is there someone you have judged that you could get to know more? Learn more about their value and giftedness instead? Something to think about. Now, another example in the gospel of being judgmental towards others is judging other people based on the race or group they belong to, like the Samaritans. In recent times, we judge people based on their political group. It's BDS versus campaigns versus the Marcos loyalists. We judge others based on their socioeconomic class, viewing the poor as some uneducated criminals, while the rich are abusers of wealth and power. We judge people based on the school they come from. Are they from the big four or are they from the lesser known schools? In my case, I judge those who voted for Duterte. I mean, how could they support someone who said he will have people killed? They may be breaking the law, but to use death as punishment is too much for me. I thought Duterte was an immoral person, and so were his supporters. But I later found out that my own brother chose to vote for him. Now, who am I to say he's immoral when he's been doing so much to reforest the ancestral domain of the Aitos and Zambales, as well as giving livelihood to the marginalized communities such as the indigenous tribes through his business? My brother is kind and generous. So we really can't judge people based on their group because they are more than their group. We shouldn't label people and confine them in a box. I mean, while it is true that there are uneducated criminals from the lower class and abusive rich people, there are also a lot of smart and honest poor people who get scholarships and work hard in the streets to make a living. There are also kind and generous wealthy people who share their blessings with the less fortunate. And just because they come from a lesser known school doesn't mean that they're not as smart and capable as those who come from the big universities. So let's take a step back and reframe the way we view others. Let us stop looking at things from a black and white perspective and instead look at others through the lens of Jesus and treat them like how he did with compassion. Jesus evidently showed compassion to both the lepers and Samaritan in the gospel. He chose to look past their appearances and origin and instead treated them with respect and dignity. He talked to the lepers, healed them, and gave them a second chance to re enter society. He also talked to the Samaritan, allowed him to come close. As was mentioned, he fell at Jesus' feet, after which Jesus even praised him. Stand up and go, your faith has saved you. So, is there a group of people you have harshly judged and could be more compassionate towards? Or if you were able to show compassion to another you used to judge, how did you make that change? Yeah. In my case, a time I was able to show compassion was when my gay friend called me asking for help. He told me he had a one night stand with a stranger and that he was worried he contacted a sexually transmitted disease from him. I was in shock. I never encountered this problem before. Part of me wanted to get mad at him. How could you be so horny and reckless? But I hit pause and thought about it. He was already filled with fear, and he didn't need more ammunition to feel bad about himself. What he needed was some tender loving care and someone to show him compassion. So I went straight to work and searched for testing clinics online. After a while, I eventually found a free clinic that even offered counseling. So we went to that one. However, it was all the way in Manila. So we met in Katipunan and took the train. And thankfully, he was open to my suggestion of inviting another friend for support. So we waited for him when he went to the clinic, and praise the Lord, he tested negative. And he really learned the lesson not to do it again. So the counselor warned him that what he did was very dangerous, especially since they did it without protection. Now, the other the other lesson I we can learn from this gospel is to remember to give thanks and not take things for granted. When the Samaritan realized he was healed, he returned to Jesus, and what did he do? Glorified God in a loud voice, honored him with much conviction, and even fell at the feet of Jesus. So demonstrating humility and much gratitude for the Lord. But sometimes we also forget to thank Jesus like the other nine lepers. In the gospel, Jesus said, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other nine? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? How do you think that Jesus feel in this moment? For me, I think the closest encounter I had to Jesus' experience was after helping that gay friend of mine. He didn't really say thank you to me for helping him find his clinic and accompany him and wait for him. I mean, I did do it without accepting anything in return, but I did feel taken for granted. A simple thank you would have been nice to hear. And I think Jesus would have appreciated that too. So how about you? Do you think you've been more like the Samaritan, or have you been more like the nine lepers? And for me, I would say I'm both. I can recall numerous times when my stomach was aching. I would be squirming in pain on the toilet bowl while praying desperately to God to make the pain go away and make it stop. Looking back, I think whenever the diarrhea was over, I would forget to thank him and I would just go along with my week. But I can also remember a time when I really praised him and thanked him. It was when I was depressed and suicidal. I reached out to my church community for prayers, Bible verses, and songs to help me stay hopeful. But I got so much more than I bargained for. People were texting and calling me. People I've never even met yet in the community were reaching out to me. It was truly an outpour of love and prayers. I felt so loved that I was reminded of my worth and value, which made the suicidal thoughts go away. I was so grateful to the Lord for blessing me with that faith family, and I was truly grateful for the strength and hope that was given to me. But this lesson does not only apply to Jesus, it also applies to other people, the people around us, like our family, friends, and acquaintances, including strangers like the waiters in the restaurant who serve us, the guards who open the door for us, our maids who take care of cleaning our houses and cooking our food, our chauffeurs who drive for us, and many other people in the service industry. Sometimes we just expect the other person to give and serve because it's their role or job. So we often forget to thank them. Like in my case, I realized I take my mom for granted at times. She does a lot of things for the family automatically without us having to ask her because she knows what we need. She takes care of the car repairs, the schedule of the drivers in the car, she orders food for our meals, pays the bills, and many other things. And I realized as I was writing the stock that I forgot to thank her most of the time for her efforts because I often just think to myself, okay, mom is doing her thing, forgetting that it's for me and the rest of the family. I need to remember to make a moment to thank her for the time and effort in arranging and fixing things for us to show my appreciation. So thank you, mom. I appreciate you very much. But aside from my mom, I think I've also been taking for granted the Virgin Day community. So much is given to me during guidelines, and I just keep taking in the blessings without saying thank you. I forgot to show my gratitude to the speaker for taking their time and effort to write the talk and having experienced it myself now. It's not easy. It's really requires a lot of spiritual, mental, and emotional work to write the guideline. So thank you to everyone who has given a guideline. Thank you for sharing the fruits of your prayers and your stories. Of course, I'm also a grateful person. I think I remember to appreciate other people other times. Like I have gratitude calls with friends where we talk about the three things we're grateful for and what we appreciate about ourselves. And almost in almost every conversation, I tell the person I'm talking to that I'm grateful for them and why I appreciate them. So let's remember to take a moment to say thank you to God and to the people around us. Again, just because it's their role in the family or group, it doesn't mean they don't deserve to be appreciated for their efforts. So to end my guideline, I want you to read out loud the summary of my talk. Yay. And here are the reflection questions. What struck you in the gospel or guideline? How have I judged others, like how the lepers and Samaritans were judged during the time of Jesus, and how did I behave towards them? How can I reframe the way I see them and treat them? And who have I taken for granted and need to give things to? Yeah. Do I exit?